What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Working and Wandering.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Martha.
And I'm Chris.
And we're going to talk about Alaska.
Again. So this is our second segment on the Alaska series. We're going to call this one Doing Your Homework.
Yes, because everyone should do their homework.
Well, we didn't do it in school, and that's probably why I got thrown out of the state in the first damn place.
He didn't get thrown out.
Not school, Alaska.
Oh.
And if you haven't seen that first episode or listened to that first episode, Thrown Out of Canada, go back and watch that one or listen to that one, and then come back over here and you're going to learn out how to do your homework.
So if you just finished watching episode 1, welcome to episode 2, and we're going to tell you how not to get kicked out of Canada like Chris did.
Wow. Throw me on blast. I guess I deserve that one. So when we say doing your homework, it's a lot. You'll notice that we have not one, my computer, and
my computer. Because
there's so much flinging things to keep track of on this that we don't want to screw it up and give you bad advice. Now, keep in mind, we're not lawyers. We're not travel planners. This is just two goobers with microphones that have done this a lot.
And we're going to give you our best practices because we've done this trip multiple times and we've learned so much. So we want to share it with you. But like Chris said, always do your own research.
Do your homework. Do your homework. So let's talk about homework. The nice thing is the internet's everywhere, right? We all have access to the interwebs, and all the information you need to be successful on a trip to Alaska through Canada exists on a website. Although is several websites, which we'll walk you through what those are as we go through here. But just know your first step needs to be on the internet. What's the second step?
Maps, books, research, and the milepost. This is like going to the Alaska Bible. So we bought several of these throughout the years. They come out with a new one every year. So always get the newest copy, even though the old one, it'll have like the same routes and stuff, but always get a new copy.
Yeah, this one actually has electric vehicle information in it, which is kind of cool because obviously that wasn't a thing a few years ago. So to give you a little background, the milepost, not sponsored, just something we know, has been around since 1949. This is truly the Alaskan Bible. Anybody that lives there, travels there, goes through there, this is it. This tells you absolutely everything. So when you start your trip planning, go online and get the milepost. We got this one off Amazon.
Yeah, it's a wealth of knowledge and resource. There's so much. We could just do a whole episode on the milepost, but that's not today's episode.
No, today is doing your homework. So step 1, do your homework.
Yeah, and it has pictures.
And it's got maps.
Yeah, so you won't be able to get lost. Just get a milepost.
All right. So now we're going to talk about, we'll be a little more serious now. So one of the first things you have to do when you're planning this trip is you need to pay attention to the Canadian Border Service Agency, CBSA. That would be my recommendation for your first stop when it comes to the actual internet, because the Canadian border is where you're going to get stopped. That's where all the magic happens.
Yes, we've learned that throughout the years.
So and as we go through this, you're going to realize that there's it seems overwhelming. And just know the book really helps you. But there's something that I want you to go on and look at if you're following along, happen to be on the internet. There's a thing about what you can bring into Canada. Basically, everything you need to know coming into Canada. And we're going to go kind of topic by topic and talk about some of the things that we've brought in that, one, got us in trouble, which we talked a little bit about in episode 1, but how best to declare it so you don't run into the same problems.
Yes, because on their website, there's lists of things that you can bring, but you need to declare, and they want these things by quantity, weight. There are certain things like dog food. It has to be in the original container.
With the actual ingredients, so we use Science Diet for Cali, you have to have the bag in the original container, original everything, and you cannot bring more than 44 pounds. And so you have to pay attention to the kilogram conversion on that. Remember, Canada is on the metric system.
Yes. So Chris and I, we downloaded a calculator that converts the pounds to the metric to the kilograms and all that.
Yeah, and to the liters. And you want to make life as easy as possible when you're doing your homework for the border, when you're going through this. And we'll actually put pictures up on, not only on this podcast, on the YouTube video side of things, but we'll also link some of this on our website at venturesomecouple.com. We'll show you our handwritten pages that we turned over to the Canadian government. And we start with the pets.
Yeah, so like with Callie, like we'd mentioned, her dog food, original container, packaging, and then her rabies certificate. So they do have to go to a vet and get a certificate. What is that certificate called again?
Health. Basically, you're getting a certificate of health within 30 days of crossing the border. And that's just to let the vet look at your animal and say, no, they don't have rabies, kennel cough, or any other kind of critter disease.
And as like us being RVers and what we recommend normally, just carry your dog's vet records with you, a copy of it, not just like a screenshot on your phone, but have physical papers with you. That's going to make life so much easier.
Yeah, every year when we go into the vet, we get a copy of our rabies certificate. We get a copy of all the vaccines that Callie's had, anything that we need to know that's pertinent. Copies of their medications and prescriptions, because some of the items that animals get can be abused by humans. So you got to be very, very careful that what you're carrying, you have the documentation to show, no, this is for Callie and I'm not a junkie.
Yes. We've taken our cockatiel bird through there. So there's certain birds you cannot.
Oh, hold on. 10 out of 10 do not recommend.
No, but
don't travel with a cockatiel in an RV. We've done it.
We've done it a couple times moving. So
it's not good because the squawking in an RV is brutal.
It is.
All right. Sorry. Back to the cockatiel.
But the same thing. Your bird, if you bring a bird, certain birds are not allowed going through Canada.
Yes. Exotic. There's certain exotic birds that are banned. I don't know them all. Go on to the Canadian website, look them up. But cockatiels are cool. Certain parrots are cool. Lovebirds,
like
finches.
Parakeet, just a regular.
Your common stuff. But if you got some weird, crazy, exotic bird, you better know in advance because you're probably not going to be able to allow to take them if you don't. And they have to have a wellness document as also, or as well.
And we have done that. So
the good thing is almost every veterinarian clinic near any of the border towns are well versed in this. They know what to do. Like we would just, all right, we got to go to the vet. So we would just go over there, get a travel certificate, which you'll actually be able to see on the website when we put this up. But the travel certificate is really absolutely extensive. I mean, it talks about the species, the breed, the color, the age, the sex, the birth date, what their name is, tattoos, microchips, rabies vaccines. Yeah, and it goes on and on and on and on. And the doctor has to sign that they're saying your animal's in as good as health as they could be at that moment.
But when you think about it, I mean, you're bringing your pets through their country. They want to make sure that it's not going to spread anything and potentially harm others. So I appreciate the thoroughness of it.
Well, I do too, because Alaska Canada and Alaska are very serious about not bringing in like bugs. So ticks, fleas, snakes, things that aren't
native to the area.
Yeah, exactly. So that is ultimately the concern of both the Canadian government and the U.S. government is you keep your goodies where they belong. Don't be bringing no alligators to Alaska.
Well, it's just like no different coming back to California when you're traveling, when you reach the border. Do you have any citrus, any vegetation with you, any all kinds of stuff like that?
Yeah, they want to know if you're smuggling plants, Ashley Nicole Peters.
Our daughter.
Mm-hmm. Didn't know about that, did we? After the fact, damn kids.
She brought back a little plant from college when she was attending a college in Kansas.
And didn't even think about it. It was in a car. It was innocent.
It was a tiny little thing that she had planted.
So back to the critter side of things, you also have to declare the birds' foods. Like if you're coming through, like if you have, I don't know, a lizard or something like that, you have to like millet spray, harvest treat sticks, wellness documents, what type of cockatiel food they have. And what we did is we put it all in, like Martha said, kilograms or liters or whatever the appropriate metric measurement was, just because it's easier for them. It's a little more work on our part. But look, anything you can do to streamline the process at the border and show that you're trying to obey all their laws, the smoother your life is. It's easy.
Yeah, and once after our first trip, we started doing this, and it's just streamlined our process going through so much better. Yeah,
and the number one thing I think that would get Americans in trouble is not doing your homework. It's not that the Canadian government, we don't think anything negative of them, and we've had good experiences every time since then, but I would say that if I had to pick one item that the Canadians are damn serious about, it's weapons or firearms.
Yes. And so declare all your firearms. Know which firearms you can bring through the country. We found out recently that there's places along the border you can actually go and have your firearms locked up, safe, and secure.
And held for you, before you leave.
And pay like a storage fee.
Yeah. So just know you have to declare weapons, and weapons is a very broad definition in Canada. Handguns, don't even think about it. Handgun ammunition, magazines, parts, pieces, anything that looks like a handgun, do not bring it. Just don't.
Yeah, and they list everything on their website too. So other things that are considered weapons obviously are knives. Even the 3-inch pocket knives, declare those.
I don't have mine on me. I was going to be like, this one.
I have a cute little pink Kershaw pocket knife, and it's 3 inches. So on our list here, we put pink 3-inch pocket knife, and in parentheses, Chris wrote, in my wife's purse. So not only are we declaring it on our sheet of paper, we're also, and we have a whole list of things that we have on here, and we tell them exactly where it's at.
Absolutely. What it is and where it's at. And you heard that in episode 1. Where it's at matters as much as what it is, and you darn well better declare it. So the very first website we mentioned, go to, it's called CBSA, Canadian Border Service Agency. Start there because it talks about all the requirements going in and out of Canada. We're going to be kind of focusing on the roadside driving in, but keep in mind, these laws still apply whether you come in by boat, so ferry, or if you fly in by plane. All the requirements are the same.
Now, one thing, just to go off track just a second, that I didn't realize, if you have a DUI, you cannot drive in Canada at all. You cannot enter the country. Well, I had a former coworker, him and his girlfriend were leaving Alaska going to we call the lower 48.
Right.
And he ended up having to fly because he had a DUI and is not allowed in Canada.
And now, there's various types of DUIs. There's severities of DUIs, just like the U.S. There's felony, there's misdemeanor. If there's a DUI felony that's a third conviction, like there's a lot of nuances. The Canadian government has another website, which I actually have here since you're going down that one, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, so Royal Canadian Mounted Police. If you're coming into Canada or leaving, going back into the U.S., I would start with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, have a conversation with them, tell them your circumstances, be honest and transparent about everything. They're going to run your background at the border. So if you ever had a DUI or that marijuana charge from when you were a young kid or something goofy like that, talk to the cops well in advance of your trip so you can know if you need to have an approval for a rehabilitation, which means this happened 25 years ago. Hey, I'm good. But there's a process that you have to follow. So start with the Mounties. Talk to them. They'll point you in the right direction. That's also where you want to start with. If you're going to be importing any firearms into the country, talk to the cops. Start with the source.
Yes. And then entering Canada with children under the age of 18. So Chris and I, we drove separate vehicles, but because we were still together, we didn't have any issues. Right. Now, if you're a parent and you bring your child and then your spouse or the child's other parent is not with you,
right,
there's like a letter.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot because there's they're worried about trafficking of children. Yes. There's importation laws of children. I know it sounds weird. It sounds like goods, but like if you have custody battles and you have sole custody, you better bring your court order with you. If you're going to be somebody that's traveling with, like, say one of our friends was taking Ashley to college instead of Martha and I, there would have to be a letter from me, a letter from Martha, plus, like
notarized and
birth certificate for Ashley. There has to be a lot of documentation. So if the circumstances are anything, I won't say unusual, but out of just you and the parent traveling, bring documentation and a lot of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So go ahead. What do you got next there, dear?
Passports. You definitely want your passports. Make sure your passport is up to date. Chris and I, we just renewed our passports last year. Mine took a little longer because mine got lost and I had to
reissue.
Yeah, get it reissued.
And it is 100% mandatory. Mm-hmm. It's mandatory to get into the country. It's mandatory to get back into the U.S. I'm sure in an emergency situation, if you lost it while traveling, there could be something they could do. But just know you need a passport to travel to and from Canada.
Yes.
And I would recommend it for all parties. including kids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When we went through Canada the first time, our daughter was 11 years old. We went ahead and just got her own passport. We're just getting it.
Yeah. So there's interesting website that I want to point out. Another one that this goes back to Canada. It's called travel.gc, like George Charles GC.ca for Canada. It talks about the travel and tourism of Canada. I would recommend looking into that before you plan your trip. Like one of the things right now I'm looking at on here, it says measles cases are increasing. So if you have an immune deficiency or you're susceptible, something like that, think about it. This really came to height during the COVID era, and we went through that hell of traveling through Canada during COVID. It was very strict.
Yeah, we went August 2020, and that was before they came out with the vaccines and everything. So that was a whole...
Yeah, we could do a series. We should do an episode on that. If anybody wants to hear about that, if this is on YouTube, throw it in the comments below. If it's on the podcast, leave a comment or send us an email if you're interested in hearing about that excursion, because that was a wild one. But being that those travel restrictions are lifted, I don't want to bore somebody if they're not interested in that.
No, but it's definitely an adventure.
Is that what we're going to go with?
That's what we're going with.
All right. Enjoy every moment, y'all. All right. So there's another website, of course, that is a good one. So you're going to see that I'm talking about several websites as we go through. So Canada.ca, that's really everything about the country. It talks about what the situations are. If you're an Iranian, you want to be a temporary resident of Canada, you can go in there. It talks about the IRCC account, which is where you can go in for the law enforcement stuff, how you can extend your stay in Canada, how you can apply to be a visa visitor if you want to work in Canada. So Canada.ca is a good place to go from there. But you're going to realize there's a lot of websites and a lot of places that you need to go if you really want to dig into this deep. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you the easy answer. Travel.gc.ca. That is a website from Canada that what you can bring to Canada. Hallelujah, everything in one spot. Now, the reason we started with all those other websites, because if you have nuances to your circumstances, those are the places you're going to have to go to get the answers. What you can bring to Canada and how to mark your declaration, meaning what you're declaring at the border, what goods you can and can't bring into Canada, what exemptions, exceptions, restrictions, prohibited items, blah, 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 blah. It's crazy, right? They even getting down into the public health. This is the website that you need to spend a lot of time digging through and knowing all of the nuances of what you can and can't bring into the country. Because food, let's talk food.
Yes. So we have on here, which we'll share on YouTube as well, list of food that we personally had in our fridge with us, like almond milk, how many containers, and each of them are 946 milliliters. Cheese, 1.13 kilograms. Butter and peanut butter powder. I mean, we broke down everything on there. When we did our homework, we found what we could have and what we couldn't have.
And I'm sure you're probably thinking, what does peanut butter have to do with anything? What is regular butter? Why cheese? Think of it as animal products, nuts, seeds, fruits, anything that is a plant. Everything's being imported into another country that items may not be native to that country. It is a concern that if any of these food or animal products that are brought into the country could contaminate or cause problems to their native population, that's why they regulate it, and they're not playing about it. I would say our recommendation after doing this, go across the border with as little as possible when it comes to food. They're a full-fledged country with everything. You can go grocery shopping as soon as you cross the border. Now, once you cross the border, eat up all your food before you hit the U.S. because guess what? You're doing it again.
So one thing was kind of, weird to me is that you cannot bring vegetables into the country.
Yeah.
And when Chris and we spent some time in Canada RVing, one of our ventures, we bought a chicken pot pie from Costco.
Their Costco
in Canada, which takes MasterCard. Throwing that out there.
Yeah, not Visa.
So when we were leaving, we ate like half of that pot pie during our stay, and we had the rest in the fridge. And when they ask you when you're leaving Canada, do you have any vegetables with you? I was honest. I said, I do, but I bought it in a chicken pot pie from your Costco. And he's like, you're good.
But again, declaration, right? Honesty, transparency, be upfront with them. they're just looking to do their job, no different than our law enforcement.
Yeah.
Some of the other weird things that popped up, pancake mix. Well, that's wheat.
That's true.
On the basis of it, it's wheat. Syrup, if it happens to be birch, it came from a tree, right?
Yeah.
There's things that we take for granted in the U.S. that are issues when it comes to bringing it through. Like I said, cheese sticks, that becomes an animal byproduct, obviously, of cows. So
RX bars, which have dates and they have eggs in them.
Yep, and they're usually almonds or cashews in them. So you have to think about not only what you're bringing, but what is the ingredient that's in it. So when I say that we literally gave a 3-page list of items, you'll see it's handwritten on here: almonds, blackberry jam, lemon juice, another package of lemon juice.
The fruits we were allowed to bring in was blackberry jam because it was in a jar.
It was processed, basically.
It was processed, but it was also brand new. We didn't even open it.
Right. And then lemon juice, which was just the juice, but we actually had to tell them that we had 1.4 liters of real lemon juice. Seasonings.
Yeah.
So like regular seasoning for your steak and your vegetables and stuff, that's an issue.
Avocado oil, olive oil spray.
Yeah, garlic powder, sea salt. So just think that when you're planning your trip, the fewer items you can bring through to the border, through the country, the faster your process is going to be. And now keep in mind, everything we have listed on these lists were perfectly acceptable with no problems whatsoever. But it's because we told them up front.
And we wrote it down in the quantities as well.
Yeah, canned vegetables, canned corn, black-eyed peas. That's a South thing. That's your girl over there.
Hey.
Oh,
it's delicious.
It is delicious. Now let's talk about something that I won't say almost got us in trouble, but it was a tough one. Traeger smoker wood chips.
10 pounds in the truck of the bed.
You can't bring wood into another country.
And why would you?
They're worried about critters, right? Like bugs and beetles, and like there's the bark beetle and things like that. But the Traeger, they let us bring it in because we had only had a 10-pound bag, because Martha's about that baby Traeger life.
Always.
We put it in a 10-pound bag, but we also had it in a plastic container that's like a dog food container.
Yeah.
So it was bagged and in a container, and it was only 10 pounds. So
and it was still sealed too.
Yeah. They're like, you're good. Don't use it. They literally told us, don't open it. Cool. We can live with that. Coffee mate creamer. Like, why would you need to declare that? But you do. Yeah. So you get the point on the food thing. It's very serious. They're not messing around. And just know that it's something that you have to really think about. And there's a lot of stuff on their websites that you're going to come across when you're doing your homework that you're going to realize, wait a minute, I never would have thought about, this being an issue.
Or like alcohol. I mean, you still have to declare alcohol. I think there's some that you can't bring through.
Let's talk about cigarettes. Your smuggling ass mama.
My mom. My mama.
Yo mama.
So my mom went into the grocery store in Oregon. Or no, I'm sorry, not grocery store. Gas station. It was
a duty-free store.
At a gas station, duty-free store. And she bought 2 cartons of cigarettes. And when we went through Canada, she didn't declare it. And I didn't know about it because she didn't tell nobody. But keep in mind, my mom was still grieving my dad. And she just kind of kept to herself about it. But during episode 1, we shared what happened.
Right.
Chris got shook down and was detained for 10 hours.
Because I didn't do my homework.
Yes. I didn't do my homework either, but they were like, go ahead, native girl, come on through.
It's that brown privilege.
So
it's a joke, y'all. I'm not racist. Martha's Tlingit.
I'm Alaska Native Indian from Juneau, so I'm from the Tlingit tribe. But no, Chris and I, as soon as I found out that my mom had smuggled 2 cartons of cigarettes and we didn't declare it, and after we looked at the list and Chris was detained for 10 hours, during 5 hours, I went and got some food, came back. My mom was like, oh, I have cigarettes, and I made her throw it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they do have quantity limits on cigarettes. They have quantity limits on alcohol, and you have to declare those things because if you purchase them in an area that's like, it's called duty free, or you purchase them in the U.S. and you bring them in, you could either have to pay duty on the items, or you could have to pay an importation tax on the items, or you may not. But that's up for them to decide. So let's talk weed.
Well, go back for one moment. I did make her throw it away. It was because I was scared.
Rightfully so.
And she could have declared them.
Right. And it would have probably been okay because it wasn't like it was excessive.
Because of what you were going through, I didn't want to chance it.
Right. Because next thing you know is y'all are getting shook down because of whatever. But anyways, let's talk weed. She got weed.
No, she don't.
I agree with that. No, she don't.
Don't bring weed.
At all, period. So marijuana, recreational and medicinal, is legal in some U.S. states, completely legal in Canada, completely legal in Alaska. But, and here's the big old booty on this, but it's federally illegal in the United States, which means that Canada recognizes our federal government's law when it comes to being good neighbors. So transporting marijuana from the U.S. into Canada is a federal crime on the U.S. side, and they will handle you very appropriately if you bring it through. Even if I'm going to make it up. I don't know if it's legal in Washington or not, but if you're coming from Washington State where it's completely legal, going into Canada where it's completely legal, it's still illegal. It gets goofy, y'all. That's where the government laws get really messy. So let's talk about what Canada can do if you don't properly declare something or do your homework in advance. You can be detained, guilty. You can be fined, guilty. You can be arrested. Thank God that didn't happen. They can impound your vehicle, your stuff, detain you, fine you, and arrest you. So you could be sitting in the pokey, y'all.
All right. So tiny rabbit hole.
Oh, Lord, squirrels.
So when Chris and I and Ashley went through Canada August 2020 during COVID times, during that time, and this is how serious Canadians take their law, during that time you can only go from point A to point B. We had a little map placed on our dash that shows where we entered the country, where we're exiting the country, and we had to check in every checkpoint. And they knew our names, all three of our names, and our dog. And bird.
And a bird.
And bird. But there was a couple who, during COVID times, you were not allowed to go gallivanting through the country.
You couldn't be tourist.
No.
It was a A to B. Get your butt in, get your butt out. It was a thoroughfare.
Yeah.
The right to go into Canada is a privilege of their country. They can tell you no. So when they set the rules during COVID, said no playing, get your butt A to B, and you didn't.
So we did.
We ain't messing
were
around.
Allowed.
We done learned the first time.
And we were able to go through Canada to Alaska during COVID because we still owned our house and we were moving back into it.
And we had proof that we were shipping our household goods. They checked that.
And our mortgage paperwork, everything. It was very thorough. But while we were doing our research and making our list to declare our items and everything, like we have been since...
We'll say trip 2.
From trip 2 on... we read on the news about a couple who said that they were just going back home, but turns out they lied.
They lied. Yeah, they lied. They were out gallivanting in Canada. So what it was is one of the local police recognized the vehicle because ding, 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 you're not from Canada, so your plates are wrong and everything doesn't make any sense. So they see you one day, no big deal, right? You're passing through. Well, this cop saw him 2 or 3 times
over the next 2 or 3 days.
And then say, whoa, hold on. We got a problem. We're on lockdown. Pulled their butt over and found out that they lied like a MFer and they were gallivanting playing tourists in Canada.
During COVID.
And what happened to them?
They got locked up and they got fined.
$500,000 for illegal entry into the country.
Yes.
Damn.
Point of this story... do your homework and do not lie.
And just know, we're not trying to scare you, y'all.
No.
We're just telling you, like, worst case scenario, it can go sideways on you. Now, let's go back to the book before I go on.
Okay.
Literally everything that we're talking about is in this flinging book. And all the rules, the regulations are online. So dig into it. Now, let's talk about cash because that's something that we have some friends that travel around and they're kind of, I'm going to call y'all old school, and they like to travel with a lot of cash. If you have more than $10,000 or $10,000 or more and you're traveling into Canada, you better declare it, and you better have a damn good reason why you're carrying it.
Yes.
Because they're worried about smuggling. Yeah. So, no, don't carry $10,000 worth of cash through the country. It's not worth the headache. Absolutely not worth it. So let's talk about the border wait times. One of the things you have to do when you're planning your trip is you're going to have to figure out, like, we'll talk about this on the next episode as far as like where to go, like what trips and kind of how destination wise, but just know you're going to have to pick a border crossing, and online they have all the information about like what the wait times are. Let's just make it easy on you. If you're an RVer, plan for a full day.
Absolutely.
Because it could be 5 minutes and then hallelujah, you're out of there. It could be 5 hours and they're going to strip your RV. They have the right to do what they want.
Or about 10 hours. But
no,
yes.
That's because I'm dumb.
No, they'll want to search your RV. So just make sure you make your bed, keep it clean, and have everything declared and written down. You're not going to have problems if that's the case.
Right. And so I know that this is going to come up because a lot of our community asks about this stuff. We talked about firearms. We said, absolutely don't do it. Now, let me go back and dig into that a little bit more. Pistols, don't do it. Anything that resembles a pistol, I mentioned that, don't do it. And what I'm talking about is a Mossberg 500 shotgun has a pistol grip handle, but it's a shotgun. If you have a disassembled parts kit from a Mossberg 500, the Canadians call that a pistol. Speaking from experience, y'all. So if you're going to carry a shotgun, it's fine. Make sure it's not a pistol grip. Declare it at the border. If you're going to carry a rifle, it's fine. Declare it at the border. You're allowed to carry a firearm through Canada for animal protection, wildlife protection, hunting. There is legal purposes to have a firearm in Canada as long as you follow the right steps. But let's talk about pepper spray.
Regular handheld pepper spray, like the kind you're going to have for personal self-defense.
For running?
Like running or just out. Don't. It's illegal. But bear spray.
It's legal because it's not a incapacitator for humans. It's a deterrent for animals. So if you got a little bitty pepper spray, no go. You got a big old fire hydrant for the bear, good to go. Either way, declare it.
Now, Chris and I, we carry bear spray with us, and we will declare it.
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
You know, like when we're taking Callie through Canada, back to Alaska, and back and forth, and she needs to go use a restroom, there's bears out there. We've seen bears just driving by. There's other wildlife out there. It's real. It's real.
As we progress on this series, we'll get way more into that. Bald eagles will snatch up a dog.
Not Callie.
Not a Rottweiler.
You'd have to bring a whole tribe of eagles to snatch her up.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to go back to the what you can bring. All right, let's make sure we're covering everything. All right. So there is something new that I'm seeing on the website that didn't exist when we went through in 2020. Last time we went through, they have a Canadian Border Service Agency declaration feature in the Arrive Canada travel app that for 72 hours before your arrival into Canada, you can declare all your items through the app.
That's amazing.
No more old school handwritten paper.
We probably will still have a list of paper because knowing Murphy, something's going to glitch.
Dick. He shows up everywhere.
But for us, we always like a paper backup.
Yeah. So anything you purchase in country, you got to declare on the way out. Anything you purchase in the U.S. going in, you got to declare going in. Gifts, prizes, awards, you win the lottery, you hit the Canadian Mega Millions, if that's a thing, you have to declare all that. So just know that it's the simplest way to look at this is like going on an airplane. If it's in your possession, you are the owner of it, you are responsible for it. So you better know what's in your goods because that's a lesson from episode 1. I didn't know.
Yeah. But I'm just going to take a moment and say thank you guys for joining us. And I'm really excited because this helps us plan our trip back up to Alaska. If you're planning your trip back to Alaska, let us know down below in the comments or send us an email at venturesomecouple@gmail.com. And if you're new to our channel, don't forget like and subscribe because we're going to give you a lot of venturesome stuff.
Absolutely. And another thing that, one of the other companies that we work for that I will say is sponsoring this in essence is MoRide. So if you are looking to upgrade and drive your RV or motorhome to Alaska, go check out MoRide.com or shopmoride.com. and look at some of the upgrades. We did independent suspension on our trailer, and it has been amazing. It is absolutely worth having a robust suspension system before you travel in through Canada and Alaska.
Absolutely, because when our first time going through there with a travel trailer, we didn't have any good suspension on there.
We had, I will be politically correct, we had what are lovingly referred to as the bombs on their tires. There's a country associated with it, and then there's bombs. That's what we had. And luckily, we didn't lose any tires. So there's one more thing before we wrap this up that I want to make sure that we talk about that we didn't cover. So we did talk about animal prescription drugs, but let's talk about prescription drugs from a human perspective. If you have any type of narcotic or controlled substance that is we'll call it that's a scheduled substance according to the U.S. government, you have to have a copy of your prescription. It has to be in the original bottle, and you darn well better declare it at the border. So know well in advance what prescription drugs you have with you so that you can claim that. Also, antiques, cultural objects, moose antlers, horns. I'm going to talk about the back end, right? You went to Alaska, you bought some baleen, you got a moose antler, you bought a caribou scrimshaw's carving. Guess what? You might not be able to bring it home, but you damn well better declare it.
Yes, and you can ship items back to your home base or, family somewhere if these are items you can't bring back through Canada. And
bald eagle feathers are a no-go. Don't do it.
I can.
It's very limited circumstances.
I'm Alaskan Native Indian, so there's certain rules and stuff that don't apply to me because of that.
There is, but you just have to be careful with that. Just know, in summary, explosive, fireworks, ammunition, foods, plants, animals, weed, prescription drugs, all of it has to be declared. And it can be a little overwhelming, but you can absolutely do this. Please don't go out and pay some company $10,000 to $17,000 to set you up to travel through the country. It's not necessary. Literally, I don't know if this is $30 or $40, but this book has everything. What I do like about it, let me show you this.
$39.95 plus tax.
I mean, we're talking old school. You can literally map out your entire trip with a highlighter or a Sharpie. It's got the mileage. It talks about the seasons. Everything you ever wanted to know is online and on the milepost. Please don't get ripped off by a travel company that's exploiting people's fears.
Yeah, and that paper map came in the milepost. So you could also make that a souvenir, put it on your wall.
So there's another thing on the back page here, the milepost, since we're talking about it. There's a couple pages in, but I guess it doesn't really matter. There's an online login now where you can see a digital version of this that's fairly interactive. So if you're old school and you like paper, which we kind of do, we still dig it that way. And there's also an online version. So get that, save yourself some headaches. And overall, please don't be scared. It's well worth going.
Yeah, it is. And we recommend the paper book, even though you can go and get the digital copy, because there's going to be certain areas where you may not have the best reception.
None. Just call it what it is. None.
Even if you have Starlink, you're not going to have it all around.
The trees are the problem. Even like Starlink works up there now, from what I understand. We haven't personally used it there, but I look at the map, it works. The tree cover in the mountainous terrain makes it difficult, so you're going to have windows of internet. Yeah.
And like Chris said, with your medications, whether it's for you or your pets, it's always good to have a paper copy anyway, because you just never know. And that's a good safety item.
Yep. And as Martha touched on, please, 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 y'all, don't ever lie. The Canadians are good at what they do. They deal with thousands of people every day coming through the border. They will catch you and they will throw the book at you. Not that one.
Yeah, not that one. But we absolutely love traveling through Canada. It is so beautiful. And then you get to Alaska and it's just, Alaska's home for me and it always will be.
Yeah.
But we've been to some beautiful places in Canada and explored. And I don't know, I just love going through there. And the people are so nice.
Yep. So our next episode is going to be about choosing your route and some things to take into consideration. So want to thank you very much for listening in if you're on one of the podcast platforms. And if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe, throw a comment down below, make the algorithm happy.
Yeah, and if you have questions about our next topic or about what we said today, let us know.
And down, if this is on YouTube, go down in the description and don't forget shopmoride.com or just moride.com, and you can get some really good upgrades on your RV going into
and
this.
If you decide you want services at Moride, tell them Venturesome Couple sent you. You'll get a discount and they'll treat you just like family.
Absolutely. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in to Working and Wandering.
And enjoy every moment.